Hello everyone in cyber world, welcome back to another video. I'm Richard.
And I'm Jennifer, and this is our channel we call Poor Man's DIY. So we have had a lot of questions from social media in regards to our XTool M1 machine. We're going to show you this week's video on how we're going to share some tips with you that we hope that somebody would share with us previously, but this is going to be the best things ever.
So tip number one has to do with the software or the images that you're going to use to cut out with your laser. This doesn't necessarily mean it all applies to exclusively to the XTool M1. The same concept applies to anything. Now, what we found is that the XTool software is really good, and we've been able to take some images, load it up there, and then ask it to do an outline, and it came out really nicely, and we immediately cut it out. Other times, it required some manipulation because all it would do is do a literal outline of the image that we wanted to work with and nothing on the inside. And so we had to tweak it and tweak around, and then it would go into the inside as well. But we spent a lot of time on that. So it is possible, but again, for us, what we had to do was take it out of the XTool, use a Photoshop software, make some changes, put it back into the XTool and run it, and it worked perfect. Okay, what we came across with is another software that a lot of people spoke of for laser cutting, and that's Lightburn. Lightburn is not a free software, but they have a 30-day trial period, so we gave it a try, and it is a full version. A lot of software that you have that's a trial version, it gives you limited functions, or it kind of puts some things in the image so that that you can't steal any copyright image or something along those lines. So they're watermark images and so forth, but this one here was a complete 30-day trial. It is about $70 for us, so it's not something very cheap. However, we have been using it so much that it's paid for itself. So if you don't plan on doing a lot of extensive cutting with your laser cutter, then maybe it's not worth the time, and the XTool software is more than adequate with a few tweaks here and there, as we mentioned. Now, for us, as we said, we've done Christmas ornaments, we've made a bunch of gifts, go-away gifts, and a whole bunch of other things already, and so we found the Lightburn tool to be incredible. We put an image in there and it has worked perfectly 99% of the time, and it gives us exactly what we need to cut. Now, XTool acknowledges Lightburn as a valid software to utilize, and they even have instructions on how you could use Lightburn with your M1. The way it works is the instructions show you how you go into your Lightburn software, you set everything up, and then you can actually tell your M1 and control it from Lightburn. Now, this seems to work well, but we did something a little bit different. We use Lightburn, we create an image, and from there we save it in an SVG format, and an SVG format goes into the XTool's software. So what we do is we create it very easily, very quickly on Lightburn. We take that image, we load it back up into the XTool software, and boom, it's ready to go, and it has everything. The cool thing about this is now you can set it up exactly how it was designed with the M1. You can tell it to the measurements properly, have the system measure how the distance between the laser head. You can, if it's a wood that you're printing on or cutting out, and it's a basswood, something that's always used on within XTool itself, it's got some preset things. So anyhow, it's much more user-friendly for us to go ahead and use the XTool software. So a combination, we use a combination of both, but the Lightburn has been really wonderful for us, and it might be something that that helps you too. So we're going to go ahead and show you some of these features that it does.
And we love it.
On several occasions when using XTool's Creative Space, when using the outline feature, it literally did just an outline of the image and did nothing for the inner lines. When using Lightburn, the difference was huge.
All right, we're going to call this tip 1A. It's kind of an add-on to this. One of the things that we realized is that Whether you use the XTool software or any other software to make images, it takes time. And I actually have some fun with it, but sometimes when I'm kind of in a hurry and I need to get some things done and cut, I prefer not spending a whole bunch of time working on photo software, editing software and whatnot to make these images that we will then convert into something that the laser can cut. So here's something that we found to be quite helpful. You can actually do a search for laser cut files on the internet. We primarily look in Etsy. What is a laser cut file? All it is an image that you upload to your laser software and it's ready to be cut. There are a lot of people on Etsy that sell these images. If you want a laser cut file for an airplane or Christmas ornaments, actually, you do a search on it and you will find that people sell these and all you have to do is pay for them and download it. Now, what we did find on some of these Christmas ornaments is there are people that sell them by the hundreds. They'll have 100 different Christmas ornaments for just $2 or $3, okay? Yes, you do have to pay for it, but I tried making some of these on my own, and I did make some of them, and there's even some really good tutorials for XTool software to create them as well. But it does take time, even with experience, it takes a little bit of time for me to be able to create these ornaments, and so I just found it more convenient to be able to buy something that was available to purchase on Etsy. I'm not talking about spending $10, $20, $30 or even more. Just some simple, hey, people have this and they sell them for $1 or $2 quite often, probably because they're going for volume. They make this one file, they draw things on their own and they sell it for $1. If they get 10 people to purchase it, well, that's now that work that they did was worth $10. So one of the things I do check before I purchase these, I speak with the seller and I make sure that they own the copyrights to that, and this wasn't obtained from someplace else that they purchased it and then they're selling it themselves to make money. So as long as I get proof that they actually have the copyrights on that, I will go with these sellers and purchase these. So I've purchased things like the American flags. I've worked on it on my own and it came out okay. I purchased one for just a couple dollars and it was more suited for the laser. So this is an option for you. If your time is valuable, then maybe you would consider looking into Etsy, and they too can provide you some cut files.
There are tons of options to choose from.
Tip number 2 is the air assist.
Now, we actually have a video on this one here, and you can actually watch that and see the difference between using an air assist and not using an air assist. However, we also wanted to point out that the air assist may not be the cheapest thing in the world for you, so we wanted to offer something else that we briefly talked about in the video of our air assist, and that is that you can also use things like just printing as is and go ahead and sand down the wood afterwards. It takes some time, it's a little delicate at times, so it may not be the greatest idea. But another option that you can use is using masking tape. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to go ahead and put on some masking tape and show you the difference between cutting just as is with your laser cutter, also cutting that same image using masking tape. When you peel off the masking tape, you should see that there's going to be no burns on there. There is a minor drawback to that we've run into. A lot of the image that we deal with have some very, very fine lines, and so when you have to peel off the tape, you have to peel off the tape from these fine lines. I'm not going to tell you how many times that I went to peel these fine things, being very gentle, and the wood snapped because we deal with too small of a thing. So sometimes the tape isn't the best option for us, and neither is the sanding. The same thing happens with the sanding. If you have a really thin piece of wood that has been cut out, the laser does a great job on it, but if you have a burn on there and you want to use a sandpaper to get rid of the burn mark, I have found that no matter how gentle I have been, I snap those just as well. So because of that, the air assist has worked out extremely well for us. But again, we want to show you that you don't have to spend that extra money for the air assist, and that you can do things really well with some masking tape. So we're going to show you the results on that.
We're now going to show you the difference between no air assist, no tape, air assist, and just the tape. As you can see, the cut as is has significant burns, and the tape makes a tremendous difference that is really good, but the clear winner is using an air assist in the middle.
Tip number 3 is the use of a honeycomb.
All right, so let me give you a little bit of information. This applies to any laser cutter. It doesn't necessarily mean it's just strictly for the M1. The M1 does come with these triangle prisms, and what these do is you place them on the bottom of the base of the M1. You lay your wood on top of it, and it allows the laser to go through and cut it without the laser beam coming back up and burning the bottom of the piece that you were working on. All right, so these actually work really well. However, we have found time and time again that there's a little problem with that. Anytime you use these, even if you had tons of these and filled up the entire base, sometimes when you cut really, really small pieces, they fall through after they're cut and they move. What happens then, as the laser cuts other pieces nearby, it actually cuts through that thing and it then burns the piece that fell underneath. So we've run into this, and then we'd had to recut just that one piece, or we'd have to redo the whole thing over and over. So although these work perfectly well the vast majority of the time, we have decided to give this honeycomb a try. Now the honeycomb, as you can see, is pretty much exactly what it says. It's shaped like a honeycomb, and it's placed at the base. You put your wood on it, and it allows the laser to go through. Now once the pieces are cut, they're not going to drop. So you never have to worry about a small piece falling down and moving and then being cut while the laser is cutting other pieces out. Hopefully that's not too confusing. I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly what I mean. Hopefully we can get a good close-up of how that is. So this honeycomb is something that I do recommend. Once again, this isn't something that's super cheap. They have some decent ones. We've got a couple of them from various sizes for different projects that we work on. And this has already proven to be a lifesaver for me in that previously, when I made flags with organizational designs on it, it falls through and I've had to redo them over and over, end up wasting a whole bunch of time. So it has been worth my time to purchase this and pay for this. And now each one of the cuts works the first time, every time, and I have no problems with burns on pieces that fall to the bottom.
Tip number 4 is we're going to go build with some Legos.
All right, now this one seems kind of bizarre, but we're actually going to be using Lego blocks for this tip. I happened to come across this, remember seeing this a long time ago. I think it was even before I had a laser. And I remember seeing something, so I tried pulling it up to see where I saw this. So I don't know if it was a picture or an actual YouTube video or whatever the case. I wanted to give that person credit for it, but I couldn't find it. I then just recently did some search, and it looks like there's a lot of other people that do the same thing, specifically for lasers. So let us explain what we're doing. All right, so we are actually going to work with Legos, but we start off with a Lego base. And from here, we are actually going to add some pieces. Now, what exactly are we doing? All right. If you are going to be engraving large quantities of anything, you'll find that if you put the piece onto the base, you might have to adjust it, and trying to get it perfect every single time is going to be difficult, not impossible. But then what happens is, let's say you have 10 pieces that you're going to engrave all at once, and you put the 10 pieces down there, you set up your software, you line up exactly where the letters are going to be, and then you go ahead and you start engraving. When you're done with those 10, you put 10 new pieces on, and unfortunately, they're not going to be aligned perfectly to the previous pieces. So what you have to do is now you have to take the software, realign those images so that they line up. All right, so what this is actually you're creating a jig. And I've seen some great jigs out there where people actually use their laser to cut out squares and something. Let's say you're going to use coasters. And so they cut out squares exactly where a coaster will fit. So when they put the jig inside their cutter, all they have to do is just put the new coasters in there, let the system line up the pictures, let the system engrave anything, take it out, it doesn't matter. The next one you put in are going to be perfectly aligned, and therefore the images that you have are already going to be set in the right place, so you don't have to do anything with that. We actually did use this a lot for our Christmas ornaments, and it worked out perfectly. We'll show you the type of ornaments that we made, but it took a little bit of time to figure out how to get these to fit in there. Once we got it to work, it's just a matter of engrave, I should say. By the way, don't cut with this because you'll end up cutting the board. This is strictly for use with engraving. So it was just a matter of just taking out the previous ornaments, putting on the new ones that we're going to engrave, and say start. And it was that simple. And we could do a whole bunch. I think we got about 10 of these at one time, and you could let it run and do other things. I always stick around the room anyways. I'm not comfortable leaving the laser running and then going into the house or something. So anytime I'm doing engraving or cutting, I'm nearby just in case. But there are times where I can do 10 of these and I can be in the back working on the next project or doing something else. So this was really, really helpful. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you 10 samples, but I will show you how I use this one here. This template was a very simple template that I can use for making coasters. The 6 coasters fit in here super quickly, and once I had everything lined up and I know everything was going to print properly, I saved the file that I created through XTool software, and then it's just a matter of dropping this in, putting it into new coasters, opening up the software, and boom, I'm ready to go and printing, or I should say engraving. One of the things that I also found really handy with this is that I take a picture of this. So that way, if I ever have to change this, I have 2 sheets of these baseboards. I could buy more, but 2 seems enough. And I take pictures. If ever I have to change this, because right now I'm using square coasters. If I get people who want round coasters, I can always pop these out, design something for the round coasters, and then when I'm done, I know exactly based on the picture where the Lego pieces go, and then I can make this new template to go back to the squares at any given time, or I can make another jig by just buying this, because this box comes with a ton of pieces. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how this fits in the machine and how we use it.
Once you set up your image over the coaster, save the file, then it is super easy to just open it and it'll be ready to go the next time.
Tip number 5, we're going to show you how we glue letters using this object and these toothpicks.
All right, most times when we printed something out or cut something out with a laser, we cut out the letters so that they're already part of the design itself. On occasion, we will cut out a design and then we want to add words on top of it, and we're going to do that by gluing the letters onto the object that we're making, which gives it more of a 3D feel. Well, when it comes to letters, you have to spend a lot of time on that one. So originally, we tried using a ruler and then making sure one by one, gluing this, and we would put the letters one by one and get them to line up. Now, to be honest, I don't think anybody even noticed that they were done that way. They don't realize because I've done a pretty good job of lining them up so that it looks perfect. We ran into some issues sometimes where a ruler doesn't fit in the area that we're working on because it had a ring or something else. So we also have used some tape to make a line. I don't want to draw a line on there because I don't want to have to sand it or try and get rid of the pencil marks. I didn't want to use chalk or anything else. So we did a lot of things by look, and sometimes to me, it just wasn't perfect. So I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. I suppose a lot of other people have already tried this, but I just want to show you so that you don't have to go through the hassle of trying to line things up. This is a tip that helps me immensely, and because of it, the letters that I place onto the object are always perfect. I say perfect. As long as you do this, it will be perfect. Now let me show you what I'm talking about.
I raise the stencil up using toothpicks because I use epoxy glue. I do not want the stencil itself to accidentally stick to the surface itself.
We really hope these tips are helpful to you. Please let us know in the comment section.
Now, for next week, I'm actually going to go through the procedures that I do for making an object using the M1. And we're going to show you step-by-steps so that you can steal our ideas and make them for yourself. We hope you're going to enjoy that one. So until we meet again,
Bye-bye.
bye.